Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Peace and blessings be upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Dear listeners, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome. A brand new day and a brand new show, The Modern Family. And the topic today would be about hobbies. Nurturing hobbies. It's a very interesting topic. I don't believe we have touched on hobbies at all since we started. Always parenting programs are very sort of complex and overlapping. But today we have a very interesting show. And you know what? It feels like being back at school. We have classmates who have turned out to be world class in their fields. I'm very excited today. And we have Tariq bin Hilal al-Barwani, the founder and president of Knowledge Oman, an IT professional at Nauras, and above all, my classmate. And, well, you are a year older, Tariq, so welcome, Tariq.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I feel like I'm back in school. Mixed feelings, because I would like to go back to all those years, but remembering the years when we were together since first grade.
Indeed.
I was still in nursery.
Great days.
Yes.
And I believe old is gold, really, Dr. Wael. In fact, I'm still in school. I'm still in school right now. So
we are all.
Yes, yes.
In the school of life.
Yes, indeed.
Have you been knowing Tariq for a long time, Hatim?
Well, interesting that me and Tariq were neighbors for many years, and we grew up together. And I think he was in the same class with my younger brother, and they always had trouble together.
Yeah.
So I was always the middleman.
Oh, the wise man.
The wise man, yeah.
I would also call it a big brother as well. Hisham, his young brother, is a very close friend of mine as well.
Okay.
So Hatim was our big brother. So it's really great to meet you both today. Alhamdulillah.
It says one thing about the generation, our generation at that time, is that the life there was good, parenting was good, schooling was good,
yes.
And you turned out to be all successful people and very good citizens, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah.
So, dear listeners, our topic today would be about nurturing hobbies and why we chose Tariq amongst the rest of the Omanis here. Although there are a lot of Omanis who have a lot of hobbies, Tariq is one of the rare Omanis who have nurtured his hobbies with the help of his parents and became a professional in his field. He was into computers since a very young age. His parents realized that and nurtured that hobby. He became one of the leading internet experts in Oman and probably the world.
Alhamdulillah. Thanks
Alhamdulillah. A lot. So we would like you to contribute with us. We would like you to call us on 24602058. Call us throughout the program on 24602058. So, Tariq, to begin with,
Dr. Wael, before we start with Tariq, I'm very curious to know, did you have any hobbies when you were younger? And maybe Tariq here would qualify what you're saying.
Maybe I was hiding it from Tariq. But anyway, well, yes, I do have hobbies. And I remember in my report in nursery, my teacher said he is artistic, rather than being scientific. I turned out to be a scientist and an engineer. However, I'm still very attracted to arts, drawing, painting.
So you think one day you might be a fashion designer?
No, not that way.
Inshallah, why not?
Maybe a painter. I like decorating.
Yeah.
Okay. And because I think that food is a type of art as well, I like to cook.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, I like to cook. It's an art and it's very calming.
When are you inviting us for iftar, inshallah?
Inshallah, anytime. I'll be honored. Yeah. So, Tariq, why hobbies are important? And do you think that hobbies have been underestimated or sometimes suppressed in our generations at least?
Okay. Before I answer that question, Dr. Wael, I'll just go one step back and make this definition that we're using today in the program, that is hobby, clear to all the people who are listening to us today.
Mm-hmm.
So, hobby really is an activity or something that you do during your free time, during your leisure time. It is something that one is passionate about, and something that someone is and have an interest working on. So it's important that we have, first thing, this definition very clear to everyone out there, what hobby is. Now, going back to the question that you've asked, Dr. Wa'id, is the importance of hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
Importance of hobbies, I think it is very, very important, because it's sort of, the activity that you do during your free time or your leisure time, it's really an activity to reduce the tension, to really relax your mind, and really to be out of the routine things that one would normally do. And it's something that you do out of fun, something that you are not forced to do. So that's what really a hobby is. An example of hobbies, there's many things. You've got reading, writing, swimming, working with computers, traveling, etc. There's a lot of hobbies that are out there, and every person to another might have a different hobby or the same hobby. So we got that definition aside, which what a hobby is really is about. Now, talking about its importance, I think it is very, very important for one to have it, because if you don't have it, then you will end up in this routine life of a number of activities that you do, whether it's going to work or only studying. One would really end up getting tired or exhausted doing the same activities day and day. That's what I think.
And most importantly, he or she would be doing things that are imposed upon them, rather than doing something that comes from within. It is just doing routine that is imposed upon them to do, just to gain an ends meet.
Exactly.
Regardless whether they like it or not.
Exactly.
It's not. And I think another importance of hobbies is that it is very important for growth. Growth in terms of emotional growth, intellectual growth,
personality growth.
And personality, because hobbies come from within a person. It is not imposed by anyone else. It comes as part of your own personality, the personality that you are born with it.
It's not imposed, but sometimes it can be directed by the parents. You might be wondering, and you don't know what exactly is your hobby, and your parents can introduce more than one thing to you, and then you would see what your heart belongs to, and automatically you would fit in.
Hobbies can appear at a very, very early age, and it just solidifies the idea that it is part of the personality. And you could be shocked of how attracted a child could be to an activity just like that, without even repeating it. Just doing it one time, they become attached completely to it. And as an example, I have a 3-year-old called Hamza. We have an Xbox at home, and we play all sorts of games together. Normally the users of the Xbox is his elder brothers. He was never into it. Until one time he saw us playing bowling. And he fell in love with it, and he became a professional in it.
MashaAllah.
He plays bowling on the Xbox, and he gets a strike. And he would be doing a dance that I've never seen him. It's like a moonwalk or something. Where did he learn doing that? I don't know. I can't do the moonwalk. I know about it, but I can't do it. And I said, okay, I'll buy him a bowling set. And he became obsessed with it. Before buying him that, when the Xbox is off, he would just bring anything and would hit it with anything else. So see, this is bowling.
MashaAllah.
And I bought him a bowling set.
So you have a champ at home.
Yes, of course. So I'll try and nurture that. Although some people might think, what does it have to do with it? It won't earn him any money, or it is not part of knowledge. But I think nurturing that particular hobby would certainly enhance his personality. It would enhance his ability to learn, and his mood as well. If he can seek refuge into something that he really likes, and gets the support of his family. I think that is part of raising children, and it will enhance his ability to learn.
MashaAllah. Dr. Wa'il, you are an example. We're looking at an example of parents who are nurturing hobbies to their children. You are an example. MashaAllah.
Oh, thank you very much, but I don't think I'm there yet. I'm still learning. And if my parents could come through the mic and hold you from the neck, they would tell you, please don't say that. He's still learning.
Okay. My father, MashaAllah, who is in Al-Umrah right now,
MashaAllah.
he is where you are. Where you are today, it's what he was many, many years ago. Yeah. Nobody knew where would I reach, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
It is the same thing. You have introduced Hamza, your son, mashallah,
yeah,
to using the video game, and in specific playing with activities that he like.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see that he is developing skills through that device. You never know where would that reach tomorrow. And again, you have not only taught him about that game specific, but probably he would like to learn about the machine itself. Mm-hmm. What kind of things that the machine can do. So the sky is the limit, Dr. Wa'il.
Yeah.
My dad, on the other side, what he has done, he has introduced me to video games as well, which were using at those 80s, the Atari video game.
Oh.
And then when he introduced me to video games, and then slowly he got a computer at home. And then he explained, all right, Tariq, with computer, you can create those games. A lot of people are talking about video games being a waste of time. And I do agree. It depends on type of games that you're playing. Mm-hmm. There's some games that people should really, really avoid it. And there are other games which are very, very useful and educational. Now, the path that my father took was this. He introduced me to game, first thing, to get me interested to playing games. And then secondly, moved into getting a computer and said, with a computer, you could create the games. Not only create the games, you could actually, Tariq, be inside the game, like the characters moving and jumping, going from levels to another. So that's when he got me into the passion, the interest, or as we call it in our program today, a hobby of working with computers.
And that must have driven you crazy and wild. Just your imagination just went wild, thinking that you'll be joining your favorite characters and heroes in a game. And that was an incentive for you, I think.
Indeed.
I just wanted to ask you, Tariq, did this move from your dad help you do good at school? Did it make you relax? Did it make you a better student?
Definitely. I really thank my dad for introducing me to an activity that would reduce my stress. As kids, really, we have a lot of energy, and we want to put this energy somewhere. If you, for instance, just send your kids to school, and then when they come at home, they have a lot of energy, they don't know what to do. What are you going to do? Just let them, they could break the house upside down, really.
Chores. Clean your toilets.
But now, responding to the very nice question that Sheikh Hatim have asked us today is, did the introducing me to a hobby, which is computing, helped me with my schooling? Definitely it did. Because when I'm done reading, when I'm done studying, okay, the time that I need to use to refresh myself, to take a break, I would utilize that with my hobby. So the question is yes.
Because the thing is, why I asked you this, there's a misconception with some parents that when you focus on your hobbies, then you let go of your studies. You waste time in hobbies and you don't focus much and you don't give enough time to your studies, which is, I think, it's not the case in many times. And you are giving us an example that when you are happy doing your hobbies, when you are relaxed doing the hobbies, you automatically performed well in school.
There's a two sides of the coins here. What you said, which we give very utmost respect to all the parents, definitely you need to have one thing included with this, is the balance.
Mm-hmm.
You need to give a balance between the studies that you have or your work and the hobbies that you do. If you let your child work on his or her hobby only, let's for instance, if my father said, you Tariq, work only on the computers, today, I would have not know the other important things in life, because there's a reason for us to go to school. Yes. There's a reason for us to go to the colleges. It's because you get the different ingredients that shape you today.
Mm-hmm.
The computing, in fact, you believe it or not, my dad used to put a lot of balance in me and restriction in using computers as well. There was a times when he used to come and open the door and see me in the evening, late night, working on computers, and take me out, sometimes even switch the computers and, say no to use computers, i.e. no to really get indulged with your hobby.
Obsessed.
Obsessed. You got it, exactly. That's the right word. So a balance is very, very important. You need to get your children to embark into a hobby, to learn about a hobby, to get into a hobby, but you need to put a balance. And again, when I say you need to get your children to a hobby, do not enforce them, but encourage them. There's two different things. Encourage them with it, don't enforce them to it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I speak to some parents and I ask them about their kids, and I ask them, what's the hobby of your son or daughter? And they would say that he doesn't have a hobby. And I truly don't believe that any one of us wouldn't have a hobby. Maybe you did not find out what is your hobby or what is your interest, but it's there built inside. It's part of your nature. And you just, as a parent, need to find out what is the hobby of your son.
I think, yes, it is, as I said before, it is part of personality. If anyone who has a personality, and everybody has one, then they would have something that they are attracted to, something that makes them click, something that makes them relax. It could be very unconventional, and sometimes a child might be shy to ask, shy to do it in front of the parents. Parent would not even know about it. Or sometimes a child will not be able to express himself because they are under pressure from family to do well at school and to focus on school. So, or even at a very young age, if that is not apparent, I think parents should take their children into different activities and every time try something else.
And observe them.
Observe them while they take them to the parks. Observe them while they are interacting with other children. Observe them when they do anything.
Yeah. I would like to relate with that. What you said is very, very important, very useful, and it is actually what is happening today. Not in Oman, all over the world. Every child, when they grow up, they are like a piece of white paper. Majority, I'm being very generalist here, a white paper where you would need to introduce them to some kind of subjects, topics, hobbies that are out there. I'm going to go more in details in a minute. Other kids would grow up and they would have some kind of hobby with them. Now I'm going to give an example related to myself. I did not have a hobby, actually. It was my father who introduced me to computers.
Okay.
And today, because of he introduced me to computers, that's the identity that I'm known in Oman, despite working a number of projects.
Yeah.
I have created a lot of projects that are related to computers. I've created a lot of projects that utilizes computers to make things happen. I work actually in a company which is now as an IT professional as well. 2 years ago, I was running the Department of Corporate Affairs and Marketing for 2 years, and then later I decided, no, I still like computers, I'll go back to working with an IT. So that's an example of myself being introduced to a hobby, encouraged with it, and supported with different means to get me where I am today. Now going to others who are born, like mashallah, Dr. Wa'il, you said, with an art. That is what you are, the hobby that you have, and that's majorly one of the characteristics that shapes you today. That's right?
I wouldn't say so. I haven't nurtured my hobby, unfortunately, and I'm preaching what I don't do. But it is something that I would love to do.
Okay.
If I wasn't an engineer, I would have been an artist.
MashaAllah.
But it is something that I used to like when I was child. I still like, but
it's never too late.
It's never too late.
I like
whenever I have the chance, I will do it. I like photography, and it's part of art as well. I like graphic designs. And whenever I have the time, I just do it from time to time.
So I like what you said. If I have the time, I will do it. When you say do it what? Do the hobby. So it means a hobby is a secondary thing in your life as well.
At the moment.
At the moment.
At the moment. And what I want it to be, I want it to be a primary thing in my life. Because there isn't anything better in life than doing what you really you're passionate about, and it's part of you.
That's the thing that...
if it is part of you, you'll excel in it.
That's the thing that parents need to know, and even the children need to know, to understand that there's a distinction between your career path and your hobby. But sometimes that hobby can be your career path, and you need to find out what do you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if, as you said, if you do what you like and what you love, what you have passion in, then you'll accelerate very fast in it.
Oh, believe me, you would love to go to work every day.
Yes.
If you do what you like to do,
Yeah.
you would always innovate. You would always not feel the time that you are at work. For instance, I was talking about, I'm still working at Nautilus. I worked for Nautilus for 2 years as a corporate affairs, the head of the department. Believe me, despite it was a great experience, great learning, great setup, great achievements, but every day was not like working right where I am right now in IT. Every day I go and I don't want to leave that place. Why? Because I love working with computers. It is part of the thing that has shaped me today with this hobby. But one another point that we want to talk about, Sheikh Hatim, which you talk about, what about the children who grow up with a hobby that they have? And I give an example as Dr. Wael. My daughter Dania watches Pink Panther, and one of the Pink Panther shows is that he goes to one of the walls and start painting the whole wall. I don't know whether you remember those days.
Yes.
Pink Panther cartoon. It was a very, very
the good
nice
old
one.
days.
Yeah, the old good days. Now, days after that, we go home every day and we see all the walls are drawn, painted. That's what Dania is doing. And then, myself and my wife, we were really getting furious about it. So as our nannies and maids at home, they find it very furious. Every day we go and she keeps on painting on the wall. And then we said, no, that is a hobby that she has. And what we need to do, in fact, we need to encourage. And what we should do, we shouldn't say, no, do not do that. We said, no, we actually bought her a board that she could draw on it.
Be creative on it.
Be creative and keep on drawing. And then that's number one. We got her a board and kept it in her room, and now we have eliminated the problem and the issue we were having, which having the whole house painted. And we got her a board. Not only that, whenever she draws things on the board or piece of papers, we take them and we stick them on the wall. Why are we doing that? We are encouraging them. Why are we doing that? We are nurturing the hobby. Why are we doing that? We are showing her we support what you do.
And what she does is important.
It is very important. We've got Leonardo da Vinci was known for his art. We don't know where Dania would reach, inshallah ta'ala. Maybe better. I don't know.
Inshallah.
But that's an example of an activity. The same thing goes with Hilal, my son. Hilal, if he wants to express his things, he wants to send us a message, he just takes a piece of paper and draws or writes messages. He likes doing that. We've realized that whenever he draws or writes messages, it's because he wants to express himself and messages to us. So what I'm trying to say here is, if they have a hobby, encourage them, work with them, join them. If they don't have a hobby, try to introduce them to hobbies that are out there. And there's a lot of hobbies out there. Try to introduce them and see if they will get aligned with it. I think that's the way. And I think every person can build a hobby. That's one of the ways that I wish.
Yeah. I wanted to share the story of one of my friends, my schoolmate. When we were young, he was very artistic and he was really talented in art. And everybody else around him thought that this was feminine. And it was not good. It was something that you should let go. But he really believed in what he does. And many years later, I met him, and mashallah, he's a very, very successful artist, and he works in the palace of the Sultan.
Mashallah.
And he does all the calligraphy and the paintings in the palaces and the mosques of the Sultan. And this shows that the deep belief that he had in what he did. And if he could have listened to what people said, and that you should stop.
You mentioned this to me before, and you mentioned that he was a very quiet character.
Very quiet, very isolated.
And he was bullied.
Yes, he was bullied a lot.
He was a victim of bullying at school.
SubhanAllah.
And he used to seek refuge with you because you had your elder brother, and he used to protect you both.
Yes.
And then this was in elementary?
Elementary, I'm talking about 80s.
In the 80s?
In the 80s. And I met him maybe a few months ago after all these years. And I asked him, what are you doing? I remember you used to be a very good artist. And he said, I'm still a very good artist. And I work with the Sultan.
Yeah, see? So he nurtured that, and his father nurtured that, and he went into art school.
Definitely his family played a big role in giving him support.
Yeah, this is a wonderful example. It's really a brilliant example of how another person could be very successful, although all the surroundings indicate that this child is living a miserable life. Being bullied at school is not an easy thing.
True.
Going every day to school, that you leave your comfort at home, leaving your parents, going somewhere that you think and believe that you will be emotionally tortured, and end up, it really takes guts and personality and real determination to go through all of that and stick to what you really like and be a successful person.
And sometimes I believe when you're frustrated as a child, or you're sad, or you have emotional problems, this is part of the way that you express yourself.
That's true.
And so I think because he was bullied a lot, this is how he expressed himself in these beautiful paintings that he produced.
MashaAllah.
Yeah.
MashaAllah.
One very important thing, Tariq, here is about intelligence.
Okay.
Parents normally relate intelligence and link it with school performance. And they never link it to hobbies. We are talking generally. There are a lot of parents these days who would like to link intelligence to school performance. So their child is intelligent if he gains high marks at school. But they never look at his intelligence and how a child utilizes intelligence in hobbies. And they might really say, even talk in front of him that this child is really useless. All he does all day is doing whatever he does. And sometimes if it is an obscure sort of or strange hobby, it becomes even worse. That parents never appreciate that. And what they are doing is that they're killing their children very slowly. And I think that if they nurture any hobby and realize that it is part of his intellectual personality, then they can unlock massive potential.
That's true. I actually can relate that very, very well with my example. Dr. Wael, I have, throughout my school years, I was good in class. But in Thanawi Amma, which is your
high school,
I scored 60%.
Wow.
60%. Today, when you've introduced me as a successful person. I've got an identity known in Oman as being among the successful. Alhamdulillah ta'ala.
Alhamdulillah,
the question
alhamdulillah.
goes back is what really happened. If you complete your school with a 60%, you will be working in the streets. That's what normally is known, right?
Yeah, this is the norm.
The norm.
Yeah, the norm. 60%. Myself, the hobby that I had, which thanks to my dad again, introducing me to computers, and then from computers sending me to institutes. I remember when I used to go play football, I think Sheikh Hatim will remember very, very well.
Yeah.
We used to play soccer. I love to play football, but there was a time people were surprised. Faraq, instead of going to play football, he used to go to institutes and take classes, computer classes. Today, if you move me to any discipline of computing, I would be able to explain it to you very, very well. Even if it is something new, I have a strong background and strong infrastructure, and that infrastructure is from the hobby that I've learned, which is computers. That's why I can understand it very, very well. Instead, if you get someone else, it will take them time to learn, but I learn very, very, very fast. So when I got 60%, and because of the hobby that I had, which is computing, I have utilized my hobby to reach where I am today. In fact, when I went to Canada for my bachelor's, I was among the top 5% of university, and I went to Australia. I was the distinction of the complete university, alhamdulillah. So what I'm trying to say is the hobby has protected me. The hobby, thanks to Allah again, and of course thanks very, very much for my dad for getting me involved and nurturing me and encouraging me into the area. So hobby is very, very important, as you've mentioned. Very, very important.
Yeah.
You just mentioned something very important, Tariq, is that the perception most of the time that high school is the end of the world. If you don't do good in high school, then that's it.
I mean, people
You're a failure.
feel sorry for you if you get 60%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
What are you going to do with your life?
What you're going to do with your life.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, you'd be
in
surprised.
your life,
and I'll tell you, believe me.
They
Today,
have sentenced you for life.
believe me, that's very true. That's what has happened. And today, people who got 99%, believe me, not only on par, maybe I'll be on top of that. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. The reason why is because I believed in myself, had an hobby, worked very, very hard towards it. Let's take an example internationally. Let's not only look at Oman. You've got people like Steve Jobs.
We'll
You've
come
got
to
people
Steve
building-
Jobs
Okay.
and Hatim as well.
Okay.
We'll come to Steve Jobs and Hatim after the break, inshallah. So dear listeners, we'll have a very quick break, inshallah. So stay tuned and be with us.
The Modern Family. Parents of teenagers. Parents of teenagers come to me all the, I have my son, he just doesn't listen to me anymore. Can you talk to him? Like I have some prescription drug that I carry with me that, oh, you know what it is? The son comes over, I'm gonna be like, and all of a sudden, he'll be this amazing kid. But if you just talk to him, no. What if you talk to him? And where were you when there was time to talk to him? Let me tell you something I'm going to talk about parents first a little bit, then I'll talk about couples, and that's the only time we have. Two things. Two kinds of fundamental relationships, your relationship with your children and your relationship with your spouse. So we'll talk about some very basic things in regards to both. When your children are little, when they're 5, 6, 7, 2, 3, 4, you know what the most important thing is? I have 5 of those, I could tell you. The most important thing to them is your approval. They want to make you proud, man. They want to show you what they did. I'll be on an important work phone call, and my son will come over, my 2-year-old will come over. Abba. I'm like, okay, hold on. What is it? Nothing. I'll go back on the phone, and he'll start calling me again. I'll be like, okay. What is it? I want to show you something. What do you want to show me? That is it. But you know what I'm supposed to do? Oh my God, that's awesome! Do it again! I'll call you back. You're supposed to appreciate what your children do. They live for that. They desire that more than anything else. I have 3 girls, and you know the difference between girls and boys. Boys can't sit still, and girls can't stop this. Right? So I pick my girls up from school. One's in 1st grade, the other's in 3rd grade. I pick them up from school. It's a 25-minute ride back home. And what are they doing the whole way? You know what happened today in class? We colored a dinosaur and we did this and that, and I was coloring it purple, but I decided to put in some green, and they're going on and on and on and on and on. And they cannot help themselves. And they cannot stop. And I have to pay attention and listen. I have to listen and say, oh, what about blue? No, I did only a little bit blue. Right? I have to pay attention. And you know why I'm saying all of this? Just one more story on the side, just to wake you up a little. I share this story all the time. My oldest daughter, my eldest, Hosna, when she was younger, she was really into finger painting. So she'd dip her hands in paint and just making a big old mess, right? And she brings this big cardboard to me. And it's a big blob of blue. I don't see anything, right? And she says, Abba, look what I made. And I'm sitting there going, that's awesome, a mountain. And she says, no, it's Mama. And I was like, oh, don't tell Mama. But the point I'm trying to make is they live for your approval. Live for it. But those of you that have children that are teenagers, do they get in the car when you pick them up from school and they can't stop telling you about what happened? Does that happen? Now, you know what happened in school today? My teacher said this and that and the other, and I got an A on my paper. Nope. They're quiet. And you're trying to tell them, how was your day? It was okay. So what'd you do? Something. Where are you going today? Somewhere. They don't talk. Getting them to talk is like an interrogation at a police station. And they're not saying anything to you. And while trying to ask them questions, they're texting their friend, my dad is asking too many questions today. You know? I don't know what's up. Did you tell him something? What I'm trying to get at is very simple. At a younger age, your children crave your attention. And when they get older, you will crave their attention. But if you don't give them attention when they're tiny, when they come to you with their toys and you say, go in your room, I'm watching the news. The game is on. Could you take him, please? Come on, I had a long day at work. I don't want to deal with this right now. I have friends over. It's embarrassing. Go to sleep. Go get out of here. When you have this attitude towards your children, like they're an obstacle in your path, your job was at work. When you come home, you're on vacation. No, buddy, your job began when you came home. That's your job. What you did over there is just to fulfill your real job at home. Be a father. I'm talking to the men here. Be a father. Spend time with your children. They're not just there so you put them in school and you come home from work, you just want to go to sleep. You don't want to bother with anybody. You don't want to talk to them. And actually the easiest way to not talk to them is get them an iPod Touch and an iPhone. And get them a computer and a laptop in their own room with high-speed internet, so you don't even have to look at their face. They could just be in their room all day Facebooking, finding themselves a new set of parents online. Seriously. Be a father, be a mother. Don't replace your motherhood and your fatherhood with these things, because if you do, when they become independent, you know what happens to most parents? To most of you, your children, they only see you as a bunch of dollar signs walking around. And the only time they come and talk to you, Dad, can I have $5? Actually, nobody asks for $5 anymore, right? It's 20s nowadays. And I know youth, they haven't seen money that small. They don't know fives. Can I have $20?
The Modern Family.
Dear listeners, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to the Modern Family. What a wonderful show today. We have with us Tariq bin Hilal al-Barwani, an IT expert and founder of Knowledge Oman. And Tariq has enlightened us a lot about his experience, and we would like really to learn more. But we would like also for you to join us and share with us your stories and your hobbies with us on 2460-2058, 2460-2058. And we're going to start today with Hatim and his hobbies.
Before you start with Hatim, I think
we're going to start with you. Don't think.
Tariq was giving us the story of Steve Jobs. Let him continue with that.
Steve Jobs is dead. You're alive. You're going to start now.
Well, it's true. Steve Jobs is dead, but what he has left today is remarkable achievement. And I think, of course, we will be awaiting to hear from Hatim, Sheikh Hatim, inshallah, which will ensure he's also going to share with us remarkable stories and achievements as well. As I said, everybody has a hobby. They just need to look for where the hobby is. Going back to Steve Jobs dropped out from school and college. The same thing goes with Bill Gates. There are two examples of people who, because they had a hobby, have done a lifetime achievement till date. I'm not saying that school is not important. No, school is very, very important. In fact, that's one of the things that my father was on top of me, and the same thing I do it with my kids right now, but that doesn't mean one should not nurture hobbies. Yeah.
So Hatim.
Yes.
There is no escape.
You won't let go of this. Okay. One of the things that I wanted to share is that I had a hobby of drawing. I was very good at it, and it was because of my friend. I got the hobby from my friend, because I didn't know anything about drawing.
The same one
I told you about, and we spent a lot of time together, and both of us were quiet and shy, so we didn't have much to talk about. So I used to imitate what he used to do, and I became good at it, and that became one of my hobbies. But again, I think the support of your friends and families and everybody around would help you to develop that into something even better. The other two obsessions that I had while growing up is I really liked raising pets, and my parents were not welcoming that idea at the beginning, and then they started letting go, and they got me a bird. And a few years later, they discovered that our house turned into a zoo, and that was time for them to say, okay, that I think we had enough animals in the house. But I still have that passion, and I wish one day, inshallah, that I would have a farm and I would raise all sorts of pets.
Inshallah.
It's a very good thing to aspire to have your own farm and be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Crops or animals?
Crops and animals.
Okay.
The other obsession that I had is, which is very funny, which is martial arts. While growing up, I was bullied a lot in school because I was very thin and weak, and I always had this passion for martial arts. But the thing is, I didn't have an opportunity to learn at that time, because there were not many clubs that I can go and learn, or schools, martial arts schools. And I had to wait until, they were available. So what I did, in one of the summers, I went and I watched 400 martial art movies.
400
martial art movies, and I used to imitate every single move that I could see on the screen. And
I hope you haven't started with splits.
I did everything. And then, subhanallah, after I finished high school, the first thing that I did, before even looking for a college or anything, I enrolled myself in a martial arts school, and continued for many years, and I fulfilled my life dream of learning the martial arts. And now also I'm very, very busy with a lot of work, but from time to time I do practice.
So what
the
you're saying,
skills.
Hatim, that we should fear you?
No, not really.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Because
why I said he
that's
was
about
our
it.
big
Because
brother
you
in
look-
school, you know.
Yeah, you look very cuddly now, not very aggressive.
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. But also, Hatib, if you notice, when you do the martial arts, don't you feel that it releases
A
your
lot.
stress
A
and
lot.
tension as well?
Yes.
So that's the thing about hobbies, you know.
Yeah.
It's an activity that you do it out of fun, not you're forced to do it. So it sort of tends to release, as I said, the tension and all the stress, and you feel very good about it. And when you said it's a funny thing, definitely it's not, Hatem. It is very, very important. And martial arts is very, very good.
And the other thing is about the people who are not really verbal. They don't have the verbal skills. The best way to express themselves is through motion and action.
Yeah.
And to me, that was a way to express myself and to improve my abilities within myself.
As long as you don't beat them up. I'm just
No, I
kidding.
don't.
See, our show today is very different, dear listeners. I mean, we in a lot of the shows before, we used to talk a lot about concepts and theories and giving practical advice. Today's show is very relaxed, and you'd realize that we are talking about experiences, because there isn't any better way to talk about or to tackle this topic of hobbies and nurturing them than talking about our own experiences and the experiences that actually worked.
Exactly.
So there is nothing better than talking about that. That's why we are emphasizing on talking about Tariq al-Barwani here and our own experiences. We would like you, if you're listening out there, if there is anyone listening out there, share with us your experiences. Okay, call us on 24602058. Tariq, we have a question for you. How can we support hobbies? We have talked about our own experiences, but if you would like to give tips and guidelines, let's say Hobbies 101 or Nurturing Hobbies, how can we nurture or support as parents hobbies of our children?
Very good question, Dr. Wael. I think the first and foremost thing is to watch and look carefully your kids and look for some signs that shows that they are working or playing or using or doing an activity during their free time. Some early signs will tell you what is his or her interest is. That's number one. If one has a hobby, show them the interest that you have and look for ways to improve them. If one does not have a hobby, that's the other question that I'm sure a lot of people would like to know, is introduce them to the activities that are out there. And introducing them to activities could be, you know, taking them to these summer schools that are out there available today, the science for kids or learn mathematics and so on. When the kids go there, what happens is that they mingle with other kids and they get to see what others are doing, and then he or she would say, that's what I like to do, and therefore they will start getting and working with it. A very good example was Sheikh Hatim. He didn't know about drawing. He had a very good friend. His friend was into drawing and he learned about it, and that was and is one of his hobbies, I believe.
Yeah.
So that's the tips that I would like to share. If one has a hobby, show them the interest, encourage them, and yes, do not enforce, but rather encourage them with it. Introduce, if one or your children or your child does not have a hobby, then introduce them to a lot of activities, see what ticks, and then start working at enhancing and improving them. Encourage them, and yes, do join them with their interest, because when you do join them with their interest and encourage them, believe me, they'll start working hard and doing well. For instance, when I was talking about Dania as an example, when she was drawing on the wall, I moved her into using a board, and then when she draws anything, I go and say, wow, that's really good. You know, slowly I start saying, whenever she does it, and then say, what about if you do it this way? What about if you draw a head? What about if you draw hands? What about if you draw flowers? And slowly she starts building that interest, and that's how one needs to do.
And supporting them does not mean that we need to look for the complicated stuff that makes sense to us. We might, what I want to say is that we shall not underestimate the things that we might think silly, because a child imagination is massive and very broad, and they can make a lot out of very little things. As an example, do not miss a chance when you have to pick up something even from the floor that you think that your child might be very interested in. One of my children, I realized when we went to Jabal Akhdar, he was too much into rocks and different colors of rocks, different textures. And Al Jabal Akhdar, it's rich in all types of rocks. So when I used to work in the desert, I came across some fossiled shells, and it was just lying there on the floor, and I picked them, different sizes, and I took it to him. To me, it didn't mean much, but I thought maybe he would take an interest, because I've noticed one day that he took an interest into different types of stones. And you'll be amazed how happy he was when he saw it, and he tried to analyze it and look at it from different angles.
Geologist.
Yeah, it's like a geologist.
The young geologist.
And I praised him, although I didn't understand anything. It just encouraged me to go and learn about fossils, about stones. The next step, I took him to a library. We went all the way from Oman to Abu Dhabi, to a specialist library, because we don't have good libraries here that would give us the choice that we want for books in Arabic. There are a lot of English books, but there aren't enough Arabic books. So we went all the way to a trip, and I made it clear to them that we are going to Abu Dhabi to visit a library. And they were so excited. We went to the library, and we spent like half a day in the library. And he bought a book on geology and volcanoes and earthquakes.
MashaAllah.
And just compliments. So you build it piece by piece. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. You build it piece by piece.
And believe me, that is an example of parenting and also nurturing your kids to build up with their hobbies. Important thing that I want to mention here is that what you get from hobbies is a life skills. What I'm trying to say is that you will not learn about life in school, but what you will learn from hobbies is something that you learn about life. Let me give you an example. It really, really builds your personality. First thing is that you would start networking with other kids who have the same hobby. So networking is a skill that is very, very important today in organizations and companies and wherever you are, in life as well. It would teach you how to do and to go about marketing, talking about your hobby.
Exactly. Present yourself.
Present yourself. It builds your personality. It will teach you about organizing things, organizing your things together. So if you see the skill set, the kind of thing that you learn from hobbies is thing that you will not necessarily learn from school. So is it important? It is very, very important. And today, what distinguishes one person from another is their soft skills. As you see, many organizations, they come and they say, we're teaching about soft skills, about presentation, about public speaking, about selling, whatever. Believe me, you can, as parents, you can give that skills to your kids as they grow.
And even general knowledge. It builds up your general knowledge.
It builds up the general knowledge as well.
Because one of the things that I used to do as well when I was younger, I used to collect coins and banknotes, and this helped me to identify most of the names of the countries in the world and their currency and a part of their history, because I had to go and look for the information, what sort of currency they use, and whether it's notes or coins, whether it's silver coins or gold coins. So it really helped me to build my general knowledge.
You in fact reminded me of my sister, my elder sister, who also with her hobby was collecting stamps. So she gets to learn about different countries. So today, when I talk to her, she knows a lot more countries than myself, and the reason goes back because of her interest in collecting different stamps, and it was even currencies as well as what you do. So that's a very, very good hobby.
One tip for parents is do not be hard on your children when they choose a hobby that you think that it might not suit them. So you might see a boy, for example, who is very interested into sewing.
Okay.
Or you might see a boy who is interested in cooking. Don't tell them this is very girly and it doesn't suit you. There isn't such a thing as this is very girly. Our Prophet Idris alayhi salam, he was a tailor, and outside here we have Chef
Isa.
Isa Lamki is waiting for us, and basically we have the majority of best chef, top chefs in the world are men.
You never
And
know
men.
that this boy would end up opening a factory.
Why not?
You see, that's something that
Chef
would
Isa
get-
is waving here for us.
Yeah, so do not discourage your children with hobbies, but do advise them. Sometime, for instance, you can get some kids getting involved with hobbies that are not, for instance, are not going to benefit them in the market that within. Let's say in Oman. For instance, I'm going to give an example. Maybe other people might not agree, but for example, singing. It's good for them to learn about it, to know about it, to sing, but look at the market as well. I mean, just play. You need to be a little bit. For instance, I go back to my dad was a bit of a visionary, thinking about computers would tomorrow be an important thing in people's lives. So he got me to it. So singing singing is good, of course. Obviously, some people find it's good, but maybe it does not have the market in one's own country.
Yeah.
So if it does have the market, well and good, do it. If it doesn't, just avoid it. The same thing goes with playing a lot of video games that do not produce any value. Try to look for video games that have learning elements inside them as well.
By the way, we have a whole show on video games that will be next week
Next week, inshallah.
or the end of this week.
The 4th of August, inshallah.
Okay, 4th of August, there will be a dedicated show on video gaming.
Okay.
It might be very strange to talk about it, that the majority of people think of it negatively, but we would like to bring the best out of video games.
Very good.
And you have touched on this and said that video games helped you nurture
Indeed.
your own hobby and become an expert in computers.
Yeah. So thinking of how I could create myself inside the games, that was one of the things, and then of course thinking outside the box as well. There's many benefits, but we'll leave it with the next week's.
I just wanted to emphasize on one of the things, which is sports. Sports can be a very good hobby, and these days it can become a career, as we have a lot of Omani sportsmen and sportswomen who are professional now, and it's part of their career. So maybe this is one of the things that we neglect into our kids, is enrolling them in a type of sport that would help them grow better, and
Physically as well.
physically and mentally.
Definitely.
And you never know, they might be very good in that sport, and they might be recognized around the world for that
Definitely.
sport,
Definitely.
and they can be someone.
And there is a tendency for children to go to the same sport that their parents do play. That is not a problem. The problem would be if a parent chooses that sport for them and that sport only. Just because they excelled in them, they think that it should be in the genes and his child or her child should excel in that sport. It shouldn't be. But I think the trend is normally children would excel in a sport that their parents do play and do practice. But don't restrict them to that. Give them the opportunity to go and explore other sports as well.
The other thing that I wanted to mention is that sometimes in life you would have a hobby, and you don't have an opportunity to pursue that hobby, and then you get into a different career, and then many years later in your life you think and you decide that no, I have to go back to my hobby, and this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I can give you an example of that, is that our national goalkeeper Ali Al-Habsi, who was a fireman for many years. He worked as a fireman, but he always had passion for football, and today he's a star in the Arab world and in the international world in football. And this shows you that when you believe in something, and you especially believing in yourself and your ability, then always, inshallah, there's an opportunity for you to grow and become a star.
Passionate at what you do, work on it, and believe me, of course, the sky is the limit, inshallah.
You could work in something that you are very knowledgeable at, but you really don't like it. You would not excel. You would also be very passionate about something that you have no knowledge about. You would not excel at it. So you need both. You need knowledge, which you learn from schooling, and you would also need your hobbies, which comes from within your own personality. And I think with this mix, it makes for a good future and a very prosperous future. And if we just imagine, if every parent supports their children in their hobbies and in the things that they like, imagine a neighborhood full of youngsters who are really good at what they do.
Talented.
Imagine that neighborhood turning into a whole city and a whole country where everyone is really passionate about what they do. Then I think Oman would be a very different place, and definitely a very prosperous place.
Inshallah.
And
Yeah.
I think the other thing that we need to emphasize, Dr. Wael and Tariq, is that it's not always important that you should have a career as a job. You can always nurture that hobby, and that would be your way of life.
Definitely.
So we should train our children that you have to be good at school, you have to nurture your hobbies and take care of your studies. At the same time, it's not important at the end of the day for you to be employed by someone. You can be your own employee, you can be your own boss.
That's
Definitely.
even better.
Through your hobby, you can open your own business. And that
Definitely.
would help the national economy. It would help to open, different elements in our country, so that you don't have a lot of unemployment, you don't have stress on jobs. People will be more creative, and they will be their own employers.
Definitely. The benefits of hobbies are very, 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 very big. The ones that I wish to share is this. It can turn something that you are using as fun to a professional career. It definitely releases stress and tension. Kids have a lot of energy. You could bring the hobbies closer to them, so they could utilize the energy there. It builds up the personality, as I spoke about, the networking, marketing, management, organization. These are the skills that are utilized in organizations today. And of course, it gives you life skills which are not really taught in schools.
Tariq bin Hilal Al-Barwani, thank you very much for being with us today. It has been an honor to have you here, and we would love to invite you again whenever time permits and whenever possible. Thank you, Hatim, for sharing with us your hobbies as well.
Thank you.
Dear listeners, tomorrow's topic is a very important one. Please do not miss it. Tomorrow we are going to talk about food and diet in our lives, and specifically in our children's life. Food and diet plays a major role into creating a healthy human being, in both physically and intellectually. So join us tomorrow, 1:30 to 2:30 on The Modern Family. The topic would be food and diet. And the show, if you couldn't catch the show today at live, then you could listen to the repeat at 9 o'clock. All our shows are repeated daily at 9 p.m. And we end the show as usual with the thought of the day with Hatim.
The Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him, said, "The believer does not allow to be stung twice from the same hole." Dear listeners, I'm your host Hatim Al-Absalam, and
Wa'il Al-Harrasi.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum.